here, I wonder? All will be revealed. Hello children, something new in the shed today. I've been asked to have a look at this water pump, and the detritus you've just seen on the bench has come out of the water pump because I went to check the oil with the dipstick, and I think the crankcase is full of petrol, so we'll have to investigate. Now what I'm going to do now is go online and get the manual for it. Well, buckle yourselves in, because this is going to be a different one. This is going to be a multi-part because I am going to have to order a couple of bits for it. This is, let me show you. You're on the tripod, so been none of this today. Well, not much. Anyway, grab yourself a beverage. Got my breakfast, a bit of a spotty nana, and this is today's little project. That is, let me get you closer, Leek. There we go. That is a Clarke PW50 water pump, and it's powered by basically a generic single cylinder 4-stroke Honda engine, 6.5 horsepowers, and it belongs to Mrs. Shed's dad, and he uses it in an allotment to pump water around the allotment basically, and it requires a service, and I do believe it was quoted it probably just needs the carburetor cleaning, which, you know, is fair enough. However, on my first quick inspection, I have revealed a problem. Now, because the camera's on, it probably won't bloody do it now. That's the problem. That crankcase is absolutely packed full of petrol. Petrol has got in the oil, it stinks. If only we had smelly vision. Now the oil, as you can see, you check the oil on one of these. Let's just give the old little dipstick a wide bait. There's your dipstick, and you measure it normally by that. Just rest it and pull it out, and it will be on the mark. And the high mark is basically there. So you can say the oil level is basically up to there. So what's that? That's probably half a litre to a litre. So yeah, what I think has happened is the fuel tap has accidentally been left on, and the needle seat has either got some crap in it, or it's no good, it's gone hard and it doesn't seal anymore. So the weight of the petrol has pushed its way through the carburetor into the crankcase, and it's filled the crankcase with oil. Now I think that we're fortunate enough in the fact that I don't think he's actually ran it like that, because if you have, obviously you've seriously diluted the oil, and you're in danger of basically knackering your main bearings and stuff like that, because you've just took all the lubrication out of the oil. The oil has now turned into more like a cleaning detergent with petrol in it. The petrol in the crankcase, if it's mixed with oil, doesn't tend to evaporate, it tends to stay in the oil. So the first thing I'm going to do is pop the drain bolt, and we'll just get all of it out. Now, petrol being petrol will evaporate, so if we drain the oil and stuff out of the crankcase, usually the petrol will just evaporate away if we leave it a few days. And we could put a flushing oil in there and just flush it through, run the engine with the flushing oil and what have you. But obviously we need to address the carburetor. Now you can get generic brand new carburetors for these for about 10 to 20 quid. The pump itself is only about £200 brand new, so it's not super expensive. But the official Clarke service kit is about 45 quid. That's a plug and basically a plug and an oil filter, and I don't know, maybe it comes with the oil, I don't know. You put normal motor oil in there, which is it's a lightweight oil. It's something like a 1520W, something like that. It's a lightweight oil, and it doesn't take a lot. I mean, like I say, I mean the oil level is only supposed to be sort of here. It's only literally to wet the crank. That's all it's got to lubricate. The pump is a bolt-on assembly. Obviously it's a generic motor with a bolt-on accessory. In this case it's a water pump. I mean, this water pump can be bolted to an electric motor as well. But so what we'll do, we'll get the drain bolt out, we'll empty it, and then we'll when we know she's empty, we'll spin around and we'll have a look at the carburetor bowl. I better move my coffee because you know it's going to go everywhere. Beverage. Right, I do believe it's a 10mm. Now we know that's the drain bolt because it's the only bolt on it. It's not actually marked in the manual where the drain bolt is, but the clue is, see, I thought it was that one being the lowest point, but it's actually one of the housing bolts. The clue is there's a washer behind it. Nice. Let's see if we can get you in a little bit closer. You should be able to see. If not, tough shit. It's a stupid place for a drain bolt because of that. I mean, this is supposed to sit on rubber feet, but it sits on the ground, so there's no need. Yeah, I think that's slightly diluted, don't you? And it stinks. Absolutely stinks. Just need to tip it forward, because obviously it's drained onto that plate and it's now draining that way as well. So we'll just tip it forward, make sure we're getting everything out of it. I mean, I've got enough spare oil and stuff here to flush it through if we need to. That's it. Yeah, there was a lot of petrol in that oil. Right, I think that'll do. Ain't going to get much more out of it than that. So we'll put this bolt back in for now, just loosely. Like I say, because that's mainly petrol, I'm not too worried about mopping it up, it'll evaporate. What I'm looking for is sparkly bits, because if it has been run in this condition, I don't think it has, but if it has been run in this condition, it's going to absolutely knacker the bearing material and we'll start to get a lot of glitter out the oil. I can't see any. That's the oil. Pick you up. So that's what's come out, which I believe is way more than what should be in there. I think it only takes about half a litre. So just so no dirt gets in, we'll stick the plug back in. Nice. Give it a wipe, 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 and then we'll turn it around and we'll get the float bowl off the carburetor. So now we'll empty the float bowl, and if the needler seat's no good, the fuel flow probably won't stop. The fuel is off and everything. So I think, where did I put the spanner? I think it's a 10mm. Now I've got a clean container. The shite that you can see here is on the outside, it's not on the inside. Anyway, it's clean enough for what we want to do. Is it a 10mm or is it a stupid American size? Fucking hell. That was tighter than what I thought. I don't think this has ever been off. Or if it has, King Kong's brother did it up. Okay, so the carb's been drained, so we may as well whip the bowl off. There's not much coming out of that. Might be a little bit of water. Yinba carburetor. Probably get one for about a tenner. Petrol all down my pissing arm, which shows that the float bowl didn't drain correctly. Okay, well, that's clean, but there obviously has been, I think, a problem with the seat, with the needle. So I think air cleaner's got to come off, and I think we've got to pull the carb off and have a look, which I think, if I'm guessing correctly, we're going to have to take off. It's those two. I'm probably going to have to undo some linkages as well. So I'm guessing at this because I've never done one of these. Could be a tiny little bit of water in there, I don't know if you can see. Could be a tiny little bit, which is sort of expected because you'll get a little bit anyway. So air cleaner, that can come off. This should just pull off the top. Yeah. That was pretty clean. This kind of stuff you can clean it in what they call a high flash point solvent, i.e. petrol, brake clean, something like that, and then you can dip it in clean engine oil and then you wring it out really well, but the oil just puts a protective layer on the filter. So we'll put him down in there. Right, that housing's got to come off, so loops in the way. Now, what we've got there on. Actually, that says on, but it's this is really weird. Let me just take you out here. On the plastic, look, I hope you can see quite clearly for the fuel. It says on there, on off, but on the metal bit, it's the opposite. It's off and on. We'll soon find out. You ready? Yeah, so it's correct on the metal casing basically. Live and learn, don't you? Well, you live. Right, so we've got levers etc going there. I think we're going to have to drain the fuel tank. I don't think there's any other way around it. Then we need to drain the fuel tank. Definitely, because I know the fuel tank's got fuel in it. Now we can either siphon it out, which I've got a siphon, or we can let it run out the car. Whichever. It's a bit awkward it being on this actually, but no, I think what I might do is siphon it out when there's not flies sitting on top of the cap. I don't think there'll be a lot in there, to be honest. No, not a great deal. Right. I'm fiddling around with the camera stand now. Getting up. Hello. Right. Siphon that fuel out. You get the idea. There, that's that out of the way. Right, I'm going to put bolts in where they've come out. There, that one I didn't need to take out, fair enough. Turn off, you fuck. Can't get. Ooh, that could be wobble socket for the win. Ooh, no, can't quite bite it. Oh well. Old-fashioned spanner it is. Now, when we take these off, the choke mechanism is all integrated into the carb. That's the choke at the top, but this stuff up here is the governor shaft. And basically that ensures the engine just runs at a nice RPM. It'll pump up, pump down as the load requires, and usually it stops the engine over revving as well. So I'm going to have to find a way of undoing that. So yes, so this should now start to come off, which it is. That's good. What we've got there, alright, we've got a crankcase vent round the other side here, which I'll just pop off. That's off, and this plastic housing should just come off. Finagle it. Don't say it. Bloody cage it's sitting in the way. Jim, the cage it's sitting in the way. It is as well. Yeah. What a stupid bloody design. Although by the looks of it, Clarke haven't done that. Somebody's put a removable piece in here so you can get the carb off. That will be Mrs. Shed's dad, because he's a bit of a genius when it comes to stuff like that. So he's put a section of piping with a couple of self-tappers so you can get the carb off. If not, you have to take the motor, or you have to unmount the motor basically, which is a stupid design. I mean, you consider that probably a couple of times a year you'd have to take the carb off this, which means a couple of times a year you've got to demount the engine. And it's not all that, well, I say it's not all that light, it's about 25 kilos, something like that. Right, how have you done this? Let's have a look. Right, I'll figure it out and I'll bring you back. So there we go, figured that out. Yeah, cut that bit out and made that. All you do is just spread it a little bit, pop that out, and you've got access to do your carby tinkle. It's still a bit of a pain in the arse. So that's that out. That's just like the initial air cleaner housing. Your crankcase ventilator goes on there. Gasket doesn't look too bad. Right, and basically what we have to look for now is that's like the governor just there, and we need to get that rod out, which hopefully we can do. We need to get the rod and the spring out, which hopefully we can do when we just pull this through. This is the other end of the fuel pipe, which is coming through here. And we might just bring the pipe and everything out with it, I think. Right, let's have a look. I don't want to disturb the governor, because obviously it's set right. Right, how's that come out then? Okay. I think that just pops up. That's the governor off. And then don't forget the gasket. Pliers. Just get this spring out. It's not a very strong spring. So there you go, that's the governor and the spring out, and that fuel pipe should come out with it. Which it does. That's cool. So there we've got the carburetor tinkle. There, that's your choke flap. There, that's your fuel on and off. Nice, piss all over my shoes, why don't you? Then obviously you've got your governor adjuster and stuff there. I'm not touching any of it. The governor acts on a throttle valve basically. You've got a throttle on the engine which sort of presets your revs. Ideally when you're pumping, it's going to be full tooch. It's going to be flat out, and then the governor will actually, well, govern it. So what I'm suspecting is the needle valve has gone funny in there, but if I can get a part number off this carburetor, oh, PL19 GPL, I think we can get a brand new one for about 20 quid. So what do? Do we buy the service kit for like 45 quid or whatever it was, or do we just get another carburetor? Because to be quite honest, if you only had to throw 20 quid at it a year, it's a no-brainer. But anyway, I'm going to get everything out of the carb, we'll move back into the shed and we'll strip the carb down. Nice. Pretty clean. Can we see daylight? Yes. Cross, you know, fucking passed out then. Well, I can blow through that. I can blow through that passage. Now I'm suspecting that the needle that didn't seat, or a little bit of crap got under it. As if it's just enough to keep the fuel valve open, because you only need a tiny little bit of crap to get in there. And same on a motorbike, you know, if you get like a flooded carb that's pissing petrol out anywhere, a quick tap on the float bowl quite often reseats the needle, and it will never do it again, or you know, it'll be a while before it does it again because there's crap in the petrol. Now the float bowl is pretty clean, and the petrol I've got out of it is pretty clean, but there is little bit of muck which you'll get anyway, and that can be enough. That can absolutely be enough to stop one of these, stop the needle from seating. Now I can blow through the jet, so that's clean. In fact, the carburetor is pretty clean anyway. What I'm going to do is, I've got some carb clean somewhere, is just scooch it through the jet. These are really simple carburetors. It's not like one, you know, on a motorbike or an older car. It's as simple can be. I mean, you can see that's the governor flap, which is like the throttle on a normal one. Well, you can see how bum basic it is. That's the choke. They're bum basic, and you can basically get one of these for a tenner. If this is no good, the way to check that needle valve is to clean it, put it back together, and blow through the fuel pipe whilst holding the float up, because that will simulate then a full float bowl. When the float bowl is full, it should shut the fuel flow off, so you shouldn't be able to breathe through the pipe or blow through the pipe. That needle valve should shut it off. If it doesn't, that's the problem. If it does, we know it's working alright, and there was probably just a little bit of muck in there. So I've got to find my carb spray. Right, I've put it back together. Now that's the float position when the float bowl is empty and fuel is allowed to come in. So by blowing through it, we should hear air coming through the needle valve. And we do. Now if I manually raise the float to simulate petrol filling the carburetor, it should then shut the airflow off, or fuel flow off. Let's try that. So I think that's good. I think just a quick clean would do that. But obviously, for safety's sake, to be on the side of safety, obviously it's worth checking the oil regularly, because if petrol does get in, we know we need a replacement carb. And to be honest, these things, about a tenner. But we'll put it back together for now, and I'll have to go and get a little bit of petrol to test it. But that can wait for another day. That could be part 2 of the video. Oh yeah, multi-section. So yeah, I've tightened the jet back in. The jet was clean, and then we'll go from there. See, that's the outside, so ideally that needs to go there. You can orientate. Ooh, big word, Jim. The float bowl drain as you like. We'll just nip this up for now, and then if we need to just move that around, we can do. But I think all that needed was a quick clean. I think just a little bit of crap got in that needle valve, left it open, and obviously while it's been sitting there, the fuel's been dripping through. Because the on and off works, that works, because it's on now, so if I blow it should allow, yeah, it's allowing it through. Turn it off and nothing's getting through. So what I think has happened is the fuel tap's been left open, and it's basically just the weight of the fuel has overcome the needle valve. When the engine is running, obviously you're constantly using the fuel, it's not an issue. It's like when you first get a flooded leaking carb on a motorbike. As soon as it's starting, you tap the float bowl. As soon as it starts using that fuel up, it won't overflow again, basically. But it's a good sign that your carb needs cleaning. So I'm happy with that to go back on. So you don't need to see me put it back on. That'll do for today's video. And then what I'll do, after I've got a little bit of petrol, and what I'm going to do is I've got plenty of oil which is suitable for it. It only requires the most basic of motor oil. I'm going to put a spot in it, and the owner's manual just tells you to fill it until the mark on the dipstick, which is fair enough. It doesn't actually give a capacity, but I think it's only something like half a litre, probably a litre absolute maximum. But we'll just do it to the mark on the dipstick. We'll run it. The pump is activated. I think there's like a centrifugal, you can't say that word, can you, clutch in it. So if we just keep it on idle, just warm the oil up a bit, we'll drain that oil, check if there's any fuel in it. It will probably smell a bit petrol anyway, because we're washing out the crankcases, and then we'll just fill it with oil again, and I think it should be all right. So we'll go from there. We'll end it here, chaps. So yeah, it's a bit different content today, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed taking it apart. I've watched people like Musty One take literally hundreds of these things apart, these little single cylinders, based on like a Honda design, a Briggs and Stratton design. One thing I will do when it's cold is I'll get the valve clearances, because it's only a little cover on top of the valve. There's only one intake, one exhaust, and get the feeler gauges out, make sure they're set properly, because obviously that will make starting and running easier as well. And so yeah, there's still a little bit of tinkering to do, but for now we'll end it there. So enjoy your Sunday. I think I've got mince and onions later, and I've got a little dewdrop for me. So enjoy your Sunday, a little bit of a bonus content for you, and yeah, we'll crack on from there then.